Hey, good morning and happy Sunday. This is PFG Live. Welcome aboard from Windham, New Hampshire. We got a bunch of people here today. Tuck is here. John Thawley is reporting 61 and sunny in Southern California. Carl Tauber is reporting 60 degrees Fahrenheit and cloudy with occasional bright sun in the People's Republic of Rhode Island, my favorite third world country. CJ Stevens is here with 58 and overcast in East Tennessee. Jeff Lawford is here with mostly cloudy, 31 in Wasilla, Alaska, and we can see your house from here. Machine New Zealand, welcome aboard, sir. Temperature 13 science, cloudy, and it's dark. CJ Stevens says lots of chicks in the broader boxes here today. Spring has arrived. And he didn't mean that they were broader, but they were the brooder. In the Discord server, we'd like to welcome Tuck's Garage, Evils, Unix Carbide, Almost Machining, Cutie Smiths, Josh, Widgetworks, Lance K, Bakafish, Carl Tauber, Ox Tools, Michael Juan, O.C. John, Casey, and Robert Simpson. Welcome aboard, guys. Let's see. I got to catch up on some weather here from the Discord server. Who had the first weather? Oh, way back today. Casey reported from Yakima, Washington, 54 and beautiful. Welcome, sir. Let's see. Who else we got here? I think we're jumping down to Josh, who reports a METAR. You get extra credit for a METAR, Josh. Charlie X-Ray Mike Delta at 1700 Zulu, 340 at 12, gusting 18, temperature -07, dew point -14. Remarks, peak wind, 340 at 21 at 1646. I have no idea what this says. Dude, it says it's windy. And welcome aboard. Tucker's reporting from the Buffalo of New York, 44 degrees Fahrenheit and windy with some blue skies appearing in Buffalo. Very nice. Josh says, audio check. Evil says, outside it's dark, gray, and rainy, and just cold enough to require a jacket. Inside this is Evil's special METAR, all remarks, all the time, 20.3 degrees. Thank you. Widgetworks says it's 8 degrees science and sunny in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Robert Simpson says 41 degrees Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 15 miles northwest of Windsor, Ontario, a.k.a. near Detroit. I wouldn't brag about the near Detroit part. 14 degrees in sunny Southern California for Michael Juan. Welcome aboard. And Michael's working on a Toolmakers, doing interestingly. And in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, New York, very close to my old neighborhood, 60 degrees Fahrenheit, 39% relative humidity. And he gets an absentee grade, and it's nice out. We saw a nice live picture from Unix Carbide. And if you want to jump in and just give us another live report, no pressure. We'll put your picture up. But the skies were gorgeous and blue, and it looked really nice in the New York City. Let's see. The Bakafish is checking in from the other side of the planet. He says it's dark in Tokyo as well. DST seems to have put you at 3 a.m. here. I am so sorry. 52 degrees and overcast. Welcome, Bakafish. So let's see. I don't know. Do we have all the continents represented? Almost. If only we had somebody here in California, in Southern California, in the woods, which we may have in a few minutes. We'll see. Stay tuned. So, busy week. Lots of busy in the lab, which I can't talk about, but lots of busy in the shop also, which I can talk about. Let's see. We got 6-inch stones in the pipeline. They're coming out beautifully. I might finish them up this evening, if not tomorrow. Which reminds me that this is brought to you by PFG.Stones.com. The address appears on your screen. If you need flat, it's where it's at. PFG.Stones.com. Ox Tools is reporting in Northern California, sunny and 58 degrees Fahrenheit. It's only sunny and 50 degrees Fahrenheit in Northern California. That's not true. It depends where you are. Let's see. Carl Tauber is welcoming Ox Tools with Welcome Sensei. Oh, you're now a speaker. Are you going to send video, or are we just going to have you on speaker? Let's see. Hang on.
Second. How do I got to figure this thing out here?
We hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're live. Your audio is live. Caller.
How about that?
You're live. Oh, wait, you're going to give us video?
How about that?
Let me check it. Oh, it's you. Ox Tools live from Northern California. Hello. I didn't expect to see you so early in the broadcast. It's nice to see your face.
No.
How's things?
Yeah, I was in the kitchen. I said, "Oh, okay, this is a good place to stop, and I'll pop in there for a bit and see what's going on."
Well, nice to see you. Hey, so we could jump into why I dragged you in here, kicking and screaming.
Sure. I don't want to sidetrack you on whatever your agenda was. So
we have a detailed plan,
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's enumerated in several volumes. Let's see. Bakafish says that's where I'm from, Sonoma Valley. So Bakafish is actually he's in the chat. He is in Japan. He's in Tokyo, but he is from the Sonoma Valley.
Bakafish. Interesting.
Evils, who is in the EU, says sidetracking is the agenda.
Ah, okay. Now I know I know the plan. So
okay, we have detailed plans. Let's see who else is checking in. Me and my CNC is checking in from Orion, Illinois. 33 degrees. It's a little chilly. 50% relative humidity. 18 degrees Fahrenheit dew point. Welcome, sir. That's a good name, me and my CNC. So hi. You sent me, so the weirdest thing happened, okay? I'll tell this story. Last week, I have a panic, okay? I get a text from a client, and I won't give details. I get a text from a client that says, we need some things CNC machined right now. And I'm like, this is Sunday, okay? And I said, what do you need? So he describes this thing to me, and I'm like, So I mock something up in Fusion, and I'm like, this will fit in my machine. I said, I can help you. When can I get CAD? He says, Monday morning. So Monday morning comes around. I get in the seat. I open my email. There is CAD information from my client. I open up the CAD. I have to convert the file. I get it into Fusion, bring it up on my screen. I look at it, and I go, oh, no. And it was complicated. So I start calling the universe. I'm calling 5-axis places and who knows who and who do you know that's got a So I, of course, send a message to one Ox Tools who has joined us. And I said, Tom, help. And Tom says, I'm in the truck. I'll be in the office in 20 minutes. So in 20 minutes, Tom joins me and my client on this Zoom call, in which I'm displaying the CAD of this part. And I want to say thank you very much, Tom, because your wisdom was really well received. Tom gave us some ideas about how to hold this thing in a 5-axis machine, and he was right. It was brilliant. But long story short, when all the dust settled, we could not meet the schedule that the client needed. He literally needed this right now. So we had to give up, and the client says, don't worry, it's okay, you guys are awesome. And he went off and did his own thing. So I go pick up my son or something, I can't remember. I came back into the house, and there was mail, there was boxes, and one of the boxes was from Ox Tools. And I'm saying to myself, wait a minute. I just told my client that he can't have his stuff tomorrow. Ox Tools gets me a package right now.
I think the box was a little small. So,
well, the box was a little small, but I don't know how you affected the space-time continuum. I don't know what you guys are doing there in Berkeley, but boy, howdy, you made a wormhole. Was it a wormhole?
Yeah.
It was a wormhole.
For you, it was a black hole.
I get that a lot. So So Tom sends me a box of goodies, and I wanted to show everybody some of the goodies. This was like really super cool. I was giggling the whole time. So I'll just start showing stuff, Tom, and you could give some commentary on where this stuff came
Sure.
from.
Yeah.
How's that?
Hmm.
So my favorite thing was this little teeny book. It's a little pocket
Oh,
book that
yeah.
that would fit right
Yeah.
in your dress shirt your dress shirt pocket, your dress shirt. And it's called Modern Technique for Truing and Dressing with Diamonds. And it is by oh, it's so cool. It is by get to the title page here. It is by the Golconda Diamond Products Corporation.
Yeah.
Focus. Thank you.
So just so everybody
Illinois.
knows, everything that was in that box was actually stuff that I would use to bait a trap to catch Spencer. So if he was walking in the woods and saw any one of these items laying on the trail, he'd be a goner. So,
Totally gone. Toast. Including some stuff that I'm not going to talk about. But yes. So this little teeny book, again, let me read you the dates on this. This is copyright 1945. Now, I've heard of 1945. And modern techniques for truing and dressing with diamonds. I'll show you a couple of pictures. They show pictures of all sorts of different types of diamond crystals. Okay. And they start talking about it. They also talk about, diamond tool holders. And later in the book, they talk about how to reset your diamond. Like if you dull your diamond, and they have a picture of, if you dull your diamond, you can use your torch and melt the, I guess they use brazing material
yeah.
and reset. This is my favorite. Heading.
Norton actually used to offer that service, but no longer.
Now we're in a throwaway economy now. So this spread here is entitled "Constructive Criticism on Used Tools." It's like when you start the sentence with constructive criticism, you better strap in because here it comes. So let's see. We got some new Tobbs. Welcome aboard, sir. He says hello, greetings from Germany. Welcome, sir. Anyway, this is so cool, and it talks about how to use diamonds, gives you checklists, recommended procedures, and I just love it. 1945. So where do you know where this one came from? It was just one of those things that
I don't exactly remember that one. So what the story is, though, the backstory to the books that I sent you is I've been, organizing my shop, and one of the things that's in my shop is I had about 100 cubic feet of books that were on bookshelves in my previous shop, et cetera, right? But I don't really have space for them anymore, and I don't have space in the house for them, so I'm kind of, I'm thinning. I guess I would call it thinning, right? So, or pruning, or whatever you want to call it. So a lot of these books, even though the one that you showed there doesn't really take up much room, it's just part of a greater volume. And there's a guy, I don't know if any of the folks that are online here have gone to any of these Northern California kind of meet and greets that Chuck Bomarito puts on, or that has been organizing. And there's a guy that sells books at, we have a swap meet typically, and he sells books. And so anyway, I gave him half a truckload. And we're actually having another one of those this next weekend.
Yeah, I saw the flyer.
Did you? Yeah. So anybody in Northern California, it's actually going to be at an interesting facility in Alameda on Saturday. So we can show the details later, but everybody's welcome. And no pictures at this particular place, but
I saw
you can
that.
look around,
it
and
makes me want to get on an airplane and come out.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, I've been thinning my library, and that's the story behind the pile of books.
It's coming. So CJ, we talked about a couple of PFG lives ago. We coined the phrase clutter credits, and I made the case that 1 square foot of shop is worth $2 per month per square foot. Mm-hmm. So you have to look at things and you have to say, do I want this here for $2 a month per square foot? And we came up with the name clutter credits. Those are clutter credits. So CJ Stevens correctly points out that you just passed on your clutter credits. And the funny thing is that the box that you sent it in, like here's the top piece of packing material, is almost exactly 1 clutter credit. That's 1 square foot. So yes, he's passing on his clutter credits. Also, while we're checking on things here, AB Shop has shown up. He says, ciao from Alberto of AB Shop, Italy. Here, the first wonderful day of the year, 22 Science. Welcome aboard, sir. And Test Room 2003 has checked in. He says, late again. It's okay. We're used to it. From Oostkapelle, Netherlands, 13 degrees centigrade and very, very wet. There, Ox Tools put in the chat on Discord the address of this place. So that's going to be on Saturday the 23rd. Awesome. Bakafish says he has a house in Alameda. I didn't know that, sir. Noted. Well, pretty cool. Let's go on to the second book. Now, this is funny because this book is actually the second copy of this book in my shop.
Oh, really?
You are the second master instructor who has handed me down this very book, a handbook for tool room grinding from Norton. I'm honored. This is, let's see.
That's one of the classic grinding texts. You know, It's got a lot of information about tool and cutter sharpening and stuff like that.
So this is copyright 1947 and 1956 by Norton. Now, the interesting thing is if you look at the title page, it says Norton Company, Worcester 6, Massachusetts. That was before zip codes.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. So this one is it's got everything in it, like everything. And it's got cool old pictures of setting up grinders, tool and cutter grinders. CJ Stevens says, is that book from Norton in print still? I would be surprised if you couldn't find a later version of this in a PDF file.
Yeah, I think it's pretty easy to come by. It's not a super rare book. I have not looked for a PDF, but
I did not know that Norton put their name on a grinder. I wonder who made that.
Oh, yeah.
Huh. Yeah. Just glorious black and white. This is just awesome. Well, thank you. This is a great one. The next book on our agenda. So here's a series of relatively modern ones. This one's, are you trying to tell me something here, Tom? This says injury in ground surfaces, detection, causes, and prevention.
I have to say that my timing is impeccable, but there was no no sinister plan there. So
it's a little bit of a double entendre. I'm gonna just put that out there. Yeah. I had some injuries, had nothing to do with the surface. Anyway, this is pretty cool. This is all about stuff going wrong. Oh, and in pencil right here, it says $1.50.
Yeah. So, this 1957. Everybody goes through this period, I would call it, when they get into grinding, right? And there's plenty of stuff written, but you read it and it doesn't make a lot of sense until you start grinding, right?
Until you get an injury.
Or you have a problem with something, right? And finish, holding size, you're losing your dress, whatever it is, right? So you start buying books, right? And and you read the books and you keep grinding, and some of the stuff sticks and some of it doesn't, and pretty soon you kind of figure out some recipes that work, right? And there's a lot of subtleties to grinding, and it takes you have to grind a fair amount to kind of pick up on some of these things, right? And kind of rules of the road that you can apply to a particular problem, right? But it takes a little while to get this under your belt.
Yeah.
So when you're struggling, you pick up whatever books you can find on it, and hopefully find some guidance, right? I mean, I love the Norton books, right? They show you all these different wheels and stuff, and then you go try to find these wheels, and oh yeah, nobody makes that hardness, nah, forget
That's
it,
right.
and oh no, are you crazy? That doesn't exist anymore. That's and
so here's another Norton. This is sort of classic. This is sort of their description of wheels and stuff. I actually, I don't know where I got it, but this is the book that has the graphic. I did a live, and we talked about how to read a grinding wheel specification, and there it is.
Right.
That was and this one is 1965. The interesting thing about this is the type is nice and big. So you can read it.
Gee, that's not by accident.
No, it's not by accident. So that's abrasives and grinding wheels from Norton. Here's another Norton. Let's see. This one is 1952. The ABC, not the ABCs. The ABC.
Yeah, that's a whole series. They have that for surface grinding, cylindrical grinding, centerless grinding, and rotary grinding. I think ABCs. It's a little series. They're actually pretty good.
It's pretty neat. And again, some gorgeous pictures of old machines.
I thought I sent you one. I want to say it's a Jones and Shipman book, and it might have a Post-it note sticking out of it.
Actually, there's two books here with Post-it notes. I think we'll go in age order. I think this is the one you're referring to. The Grinding Wheel.
Yeah.
By Kenneth
Possibly.
Lewis.
There's one that has a graphic on how to balance a grinding wheel.
Yeah.
That I just thought was just absolutely fantastic, right? When you're struggling to balance wheels or whatever the first time you try it, right?
Yep.
That you're like, oh, now I get it.
Yep. Yeah, this had there's a couple of sticky notes. Listen, when I'm given homework, I do my homework, okay? Maybe not right away. And then there's another sticky note in here in which there's a very subtle photo in here that shows a guy with a stone honing the chuck. It says right there. See?
Oh, okay.
They needed they needed stones, PFG stones back in 1951.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I don't know why. That might have been why I flagged that page, but I never know until I actually look at that page in the whole.
Another picture of a balancing stand. With a wheel. I like this design because they made the casting on the stand has some meat to it, and it just has a V shape, so it's very stiff and very efficient at the same time. Very nice. And this is. Go ahead.
Jones and Shipman made a really fancy one that had it actually had a lever, I think, to that you could lift so you could have the thing at rest, and then you could have it, you could lift it up, and then it would be on the balancing ways. And
have you seen
complicated.
Did you see the Okamoto grinder, the Okamoto balancer? I have one.
Yeah.
Those
they're huge actually, and they have it's like a scale almost. And,
it's a scale, it's very logical and clever and very well made, and they do not give them away.
Did you get one with your grinder, or did you buy one?
I was offered one with my grinder for $2,200, and I said, "Thank you, but no, thank you." And then I wanted one because then I wanted one, so I started making the BS8 balancing stands available
at PFG.com.
.gg.
Brought to you by our sponsor.
Right. So then I wanted one because I wanted to basically show, okay, this is how you. So I bought one for $700 on eBay, and it was mint. What happens is these things go out and people don't use them. They don't balance.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Okay,
Yeah, a lot of people just don't bother. Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
which I don't get that. So my teacher said, more review.
Oh,
So
yeah.
This is
That was a note to myself. Yeah.
Yeah. Grinding Wheels and Machines, P.S. Houghton, with his credentials, many letters after his name.
I think is that an English book? Is it from England, that one?
Well, yes. Yes, it is.
Yeah. I bought a bunch of books from England. There was a guy, I want to say his name is Simmons, and he wrote some books on material science and kind of machinery subjects and things like that. So I bought a bunch of books out of England specifically, and some of them were on grinding subjects and stuff like that. So it was,
yeah,
they're
this
pretty
is a
good.
neat one. This one is 1963. I was 2 years old, and it's stamped Washington State Library, Olympia, Washington. So this has been around. This has gotten around the block. This is a former library book. I still probably owe late fees on it. Let's see. This is a pretty technical book. There's no pictures in here. How can I read this?
Yeah.
But there is a bookmark, and it's about surface finishes. The bookmark is on surface finishes here. But this is like words. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's crazy. By the way, some of the guys in the chat on YouTube, GLG Forgeworks, points out that people are just freeballing it out here with guessing, meaning, what type of wheels to use. Jeff Lawford asks, any thoughts on wheel selection to dust off the surface of stainless knife steel? I have an opinion on that, a minor opinion on that.
Stainless knife steel. So you were talking with like 440 or 416 or...
Jeff says, I tried my go-to 5SG46 and it was a no-go. Really? Because that's what I was going to say, a 5SG. Interesting. Which stainless steel?
And I'd probably try one of those ruby, real open ruby.
Radiac.
Radiac.
Yeah.
Is it? I can't think of the designation right now, but I have a couple.
So Jeff says the steels in question are N690, which I've never heard of, 440C, which of course we've heard of. So Grimsmo sent me some blades to test for him a while back, and I very successfully used the 5SG on it, and I thought it was a good wheel.
You might try a more open dress, increase your dressing speed. So, like I said, there's a lot of these little kind of what I would call black art things you can use to tweak the way a wheel behaves. And one of them is a more open dress, a more rapid traverse with the diamond across the wheel. A lot of people go way too slow, and it's... But there's times when you want that. So,
So I'm biting my tongue. I'm biting my tongue because you are saying almost the exact words that Robin said, because he was on last week briefly. And
he was? Okay.
And he talked about the same thing. It's like run.
Yeah.
Was it? It might have been.
Well, he's gone off the deep end with his dressing rate. He has a hydraulic bleed cylinder that he's calibrated against a timer or something like that he uses to vary the rate.
He's not using a timer now. He's using a rubidium oscillator, which is tied to the National Institute of Standards and Technology.
No, but his new grinder, he can basically CNC dress now, right? And but on his manual grinder, he had this. It was like an air cylinder that had a hydraulic speed control that he
Yep.
very carefully calibrated, and so that he understood what he was doing. And then my other question, I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was talking about the knife steels. Are you grinding dry or are you grinding wet? Would be
That was
the other
Jeff
question.
Loffert.
Yeah.
So okay, Jeff's on a Harrig. I think Jeff, if I had a guess, I think Tom nailed it with the dressing question. If he's using mist coolant, which I think is fine. Uh,
Yeah,
the
blood's
average
better, but mist is good. So yeah.
Tom, tell me if you think this is right. I think the average person using a manual Harrig is just not going to get the speed up fast enough to do an open dress. You really have to move that diamond across the
You
wheel.
you got to crank pretty quick,
Yeah.
and so depending on what the traverse, I don't know what's a Herrig per rev on the hand wheel. Is it 100 or is it 200 or what is it?
I want to say it's 100. Is it 100, Jeff, on the cross feed per turn? 200, yeah, 200 per rev. So you still have to crank it.
I would my rate with that. I'd be going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's about the rate for a full rev. About
Yeah.
3/4 of a second per rev or something like that. So
Robin had a really
and,
good approach. I think it was in the after show we were talking, so I don't think this was recorded. But he said, go faster and faster until you start getting threads in the work.
exactly right.
And then back off.
So whatever you're doing now, triple it, and
Right.
then see how that works. And
Which is a brilliant approach.
Yeah.
An absolutely brilliant approach. Good. Yeah. Jeff, I bet you that really helps because the 5SG wheel, I thought it was awesome for stainless. And I think it was Knife Maker Kinetic. He's in
up in where's he? Wisconsin? Not Wisconsin.
Up there somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy grinds every day.
Every day. And he said, this is a quote, because when I was poking around looking for wheels and I brought up the whole thing about the Norton SG5, 5SG, he said, if I could only have one wheel in my shop, that would be it.
Mm-hmm.
That says a lot.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Yeah.
They're pretty neat. And they have, a little pinch of ceramic, a little pinch of, they have the special herbs and spices. So let's see. I think I covered all the books that you sent me. And I want to say thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're welcome.
I like, it's fun. It's fun going through it. And now there's some other stuff. I got to show I'll show two other pieces here. One, because I'm a total nerd and you knew. You absolutely knew.
Yeah, that's Spencer bait right there.
That's yeah.
So as soon as you see the word antenna, it must go to Spencer. So
yeah. So there's your. I got to cover up.
It's a little blurry. Back up a little bit. There you go. Right there.
There we go. Antenna current.
That's just a cool analog meter. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a cool analog meter. And
How long did it take you to get the box open?
I think it opened just by my mental energy. That was cool. And then there was another thing which unfortunately didn't survive the trip very well. I have to glue some Bakelite back together, but it was a spool.
Oh, bummer! Yeah,
yeah. Okay. I'll fix it. I got all the pieces.
Oh wow! That's too bad.
But it's I'll make it. You'll never know it was broken.
So yeah, I bought that. Two reasons. One is I have a little FM radio in my shop, right?
Yep.
That's inside a metal building, which
is that a problem?
Yeah, sucks antenna. What? And so I said, "Oh, look at this! It's special antenna wire, right? And maybe I can connect up and run it outside or do something. I don't know what, right?"
There's only one thing. There's only one thing you need to improve your antenna situation.
Yeah, what's that? A CD player?
My phone number.
I see. Okay.
There we go. Carl says, Is there a difference between an open dress and using a coarser wheel? Very interesting question.
So you can. A lot of people say, and I've heard many people say this. You can do anything with a 46 grit wheel. Okay, a 46 grit wheel will get you a long ways. It is true, and so you can produce a very aggressive dress that will remove material that when you look at it under a magnifying glass, it looks like milling chips, right? And you can produce actually pretty high finishes with a different kind of dress. Okay, so yeah, grit plays a part, but not as much as you think.
Yeah.
So my what I like kind of general purpose is I like 60s a fair amount, right? For pretty much everything. And you can make an open dress on them that is a rather coarse, corkscrewy type dress that removes material pretty efficiently. And you can dress them very carefully and produce real high finishes too. So that's one of the problems with grinding is once you start, you go, I love that finish. And then you just, well, hey, I'm going to get some 220 grit wheels now.
Right.
And I'm going to get a mirror. Wrong. You're going to get a bunch of burn spots is what you're going to get.
Blue marks all over it.
Yeah, exactly.
So actually, that's a question for Jeff. Like, Jeff, if you said you're having bad luck with it, is it burning?
Yeah, actually that's good. That's a good point. What's happening?
What's happening? So I remember when I was bringing up my Brown and Sharp grinder and I was grinding the table, which of course is a cast iron, I was burning the heck out of it with a white wheel. And of course,
yeah.
I get a message from Robin. You use a
switch to silicon carbide.
I switched to silicon carbide. It was not, and the only silicon carbide I had was 100 grit, which for reasons that are bizarre. And I tried it, and it was absolutely glorious. It was the difference between night and day.
Night and day, yeah.
So how many axes are there in this solution space? We've got material type, grit, dress, your traverse rate, your wheel speed, your material,
step over,
step over. Yeah, it's who was it?
There's a lot going on there. That's why when you first start, getting your arms around all those parameters, right? Don't give up. Just keep working the problem, observing, trying some of the knobs, and then you'll find recipes that work for your situation and your materials.
So Jeff says no burning. It was eating the wheel, starting with a 2.5 thousandths depth of cut, 2.5 tenths depth of cut. And by the time I got to the far side, it was barely cutting.
Yeah, so you're glazing the wheel is what you're doing. So what I would recommend is a 2 thousandths, not 2 tenths, 2 thousandths depth of cut with something like a 10 thousandths step over. Okay, so the leading edge of that wheel is doing the work. And then the way the wheel wears, everybody thinks the wheel wears, the periphery shrinks. That's not how it wears. It wears, it produces a slight angle across the bottom of the wheel, right? So the leading edge is taking the brunt, but then that taper does your finishing for you.
So here's your wheel.
Yep. Yeah.
That's how your wheel wears.
There you go.
This is your wheel on drugs.
Yeah, kind of the leading edge, but the periphery still finishes to size, right? So, and in particular with stainless steels, they're more gummy than tool steels, because of the nickel and the chromium in them, and so they work hardened. And they work harden, and then when they work harden, they glaze your wheel, and your wheel doesn't cut, and it makes more heat, and it's a chain reaction. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
When a guy from Berkeley Labs says chain reaction, I actually start to pay attention.
Yeah,
Just
right. So,
just saying.
no.
Well, who knew
Yeah,
this
so
was going to
that
turn
would be
into
my advice for
This
that
is
particular issue.
Thank you for calling the Grinder Clinic. Our next caller, Jeff says, so kind of a peel grinding technique, Tom, question mark.
Heel grinding. I don't know what that means actually.
So we heard that recently we heard that from Adam Demuth, and
Mhm.
he defined it as go
Yeah.
to
Oh,
depth and
yep.
then cross feed, step over at like 1 grain's worth of cross feed.
That's
So
right. About your grain size, right?
which is
And actually, thanks for reminding me. He actually did a video where he shows this, I think.
yes.
Um, Adam's a good grinder hand, so absolutely. So and it's counterintuitive, right? It to take a big depth of cut, right? And then you're barking your way across basically, right? And but then you look and you go, oh my God, look at that finish, right? How did that happen?
Yeah.
So
I that sounds like a good experiment, because
yeah.
I could program
But
that up on the CNC and have it do different techniques very accurately, and then look at the results.
Yeah. And then you got to be a little bit careful if you're doing thin materials, right? Because they tend to heat locally and then they distort. If you tried to grind mild steel, for example, 1018 or something like that, and a thin piece that's say, 1/8 inch or below or whatever, right? It heats up if you're not using, full, basically submerged flood coolant, right? And then when it heats up, guess what it does? It comes up into the wheel, right? And it buckles up into the wheel, and then there's your chain reaction, right?
Flood cooling always and much.
Mm-hmm.
That's my recommendation.
Yeah, mist is good. Mist is better than dry, but not as good as flood. So you're in the right direction.
Widget Work says, I started using a cordless drill to cross feed his grinder, as the rapid is way too fast and I can't crank it smooth enough by hand. So that's a clever technique, is he's using a cordless drill.
Yeah,
Pretty
sure.
cool.
That would work.
Well,
yeah, my Brown and Sharp has a hydraulic dressing mode, and but
that's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it works pretty good actually. So
yeah, I think on average, because I came up through a Harrig 6x12 manual, then I went to the Brown and Sharp, then I went to the Okamoto, and I would have to say that on average our manual dressing is always too slow. Just crank that sucker. Get too fast. That's the recommendation, is get it too fast and then back off. Cool. If you guys have any other grinding questions, just pop them in the chat. So, and I will, I'll probably scan some gems out of these books and put them online, and we'll see if that can help the community.
Oh, yeah. You just reminded me that little reel that you showed.
Oh, yeah.
So I bought that for two reasons. One of them was to try to improve my FM radio situation. And then the other was the little crank handle on the side of that.
It retracts.
Is very clever. It's very clever. The little latch. It folds down to get out of your way, but it has a locking element, and it's just very cleverly designed. And I'm a student of design, and I buy things like that because they have a unique mechanical detail on them that I might want to use for something sometime in the future, right? Yeah. Click and it locks, right?
Yep.
So at work, I actually have a big shelf in my office that I call my mechanical library. And it's just full of stuff, most of which I pulled out of the dumpster, right? that has some unique element, like that little lever. And when we're trying to solve a problem or come up with an idea to how to do something, a lot of times I pull things off the shelf and just kind of go, oh, what if we just kind of turn this upside down and use this kind of idea here? And it actually works pretty good. The idea that philosophy came from a company called IDEO, which is a big industrial design company that does stuff for Apple and Microsoft and whoever, right? And they have a friend of mine worked there, and he said they had I don't know if they were Lista cabinets or like flat files or whatever they were, right? With literally hundreds and hundreds of examples of these kinds of things, but each one had a tag attached to it that had a description of the what it was and how it was done, and any information that they had on it. So you could go and open these drawers and look at all this fantastic stuff. And when you were mulling over a design or a problem that you were having with something you were working on. So I just thought it was a cool idea.
That's pretty neat. Too bad DBX is very interested in design, and he is not with us today. He's going to be bummed. But maybe that's a thing we could do another day, is talk about just design. That'd be kind of neat. I got to take one more question on grinding, and then I got to change topics, Tom, and actually I could use your input on something. WidgetWorks says, are there any tips for grinding aluminum 2024 and 7075?
Silicon carbide.
Silicon carbide. Next question, please.
Yeah, no aluminum oxide. So
yeah, that's not good. That's
when you have a non-ferrous materials, brass, copper, aluminum, stuff like that. Look at your silicon carbide wheels. So
yeah, GLG Forge Works says, is this the rapid fire round? Yes, it is. Okay, so I wanted to show a couple things. Which direction are we going? We'll do this first, because this is follow-up from last week. I don't know if you were following, Tom, but I did some rotary lapping using an aluminum lap. And
you mean cylindrical lapping? You were lapping a rod.
Did I say something else? I was external
you
cylindrical
said rotary lapping.
Yes, I'm sorry.
So these were the rolls for your sign plate?
Yes. And
cylindrical lapping.
Cylindrical lapping. I learned a lot. And I'm not going to rehash it because it's all in the video, but basically I played with Time Saver. I started playing with Diamond. Diamond was better, blah, blah, blah. But then I went online and I started researching stuff from the American Lap Company.
Yep.
Fairly identical to the stuff from the Helical Lap Company. I'm not convinced that they don't work together. And then I came up with a 3D print of a lap holder based on
that's a good idea. Yeah.
the American lap holder. So I'm going to turn an aluminum sleeve that goes in here, and then we have basically all the elements that they were showing.
You're lapping steel, right?
I'm lapping hardened steel with diamond.
Yeah, use a cast iron sleeve.
Yeah, I don't have any.
Oh, come on. That's a lame excuse.
That's but teach.
Yeah, but YABUT.
So the laps off the shelf from American Lap are in fact cast iron.
Okay, first clue.
First clue. And they described in some of their literature that the cast iron is ideal because the grain structure is perfect for grabbing onto the diamonds and blah, blah, blah. So I will get a rod of cast material and we'll make some sleeves.
But you can buy it from McMaster Car, and if I would have known, I would have thrown a chunk in the box that I sent you. So
it's McMaster Lipton.
Right.
That's actually pretty funny. So there you go. And so this was the second prototype. Of course, there's always the first prototype lasted 15 minutes. There's the second
Mhm.
prototype. It takes a simple bolt, a thumb screw. I mean, I thought this is going to work out pretty nicely. The only thing I haven't addressed is capturing the lap. They use a set screw in their commercial units, the steel units. I'm not sure you need anything, but to be determined. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm
Yeah.
having a good time. So this is coming up. We'll show more on that later. Oh, and the fusion model for this is parameterized, so I could tell it.
Oh, so you just. Mhm.
You just tell what size lap you're dealing with and how wide you want it, and this thing goes bloop, and it makes this model, which is pretty cool. Evil says, McMaster Lipton, I hear they do
Yeah.
previous day shipping now.
Yeah. Right.
That's exactly correct. If you need it,
Mhm.
it will have shipped already. So stay tuned on that. We got good results though, even with aluminum and the diamond in the paste, the hypodermic needle pasty. But
Yeah.
as soon as I hit it with a little bit of solvent, like everything started working better, and I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. So I'm gonna switch over to the liquid slurry.
Yeah. They. I believe. And once again, McMaster sells a sampler kit with but it has there is a lapping fluid that comes with it, that has some. Um, it's engineered to work with the diamond, so it's lubricant, but it holds the diamond in suspension. It does a couple of things, and Robin and I have talked about this between ourselves. It's actually works really good, and it's engineered in particular to do that job. Where I've tried many different kinds of solvents and carriers and things like that, and that particular uh, they call it lapping fluid. So you see it on the Chemet site, and
Yeah.
and
I
then
bought the Chemet bottles of premixed
yeah.
diamond.
So yeah, if
Like,
it's already in suspension, then
yep.
you're good to go, right?
Yeah,
And
Robin admonished me to not mess with don't mess with the fluid.
exactly right,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah. But if you're doing it on your own and you have some diamond paste, for example, right, and you want to thin it a little bit so that it gets into that interface, right? Everybody's go-to is WD-40, which sort of works, but it's less than satisfactory when you're trying to get really good geometry. So
WD-40 is almost the answer for everything.
yeah, yeah, it covers a lot of ground actually.
It's pretty close. It tastes lousy though. I just warn you about that.
Yeah, I've actually tasted it accidentally.
I want no further details on that.
Yeah.
GLG ForgeWorks says, I like to ask myself, what would Adam Savage do?
Yeah.
I'm going to let that one pass. So we have a project in the works, and this is where I could use everybody's help. What?
I got a quick question here.
Yes, sir.
You're reading comments, right? And I have the comment thing open, but
Yes.
how come I'm not getting those same updates?
I don't know. Are you on? You're looking at the YouTube? No, you're looking at the Discord comments. There's also
got it.
there's
Okay,
also
and then there's
YouTube comments. Which
okay, all right.
Yeah, that's why. That's why I always read. I always read these because sometimes they're hard to read, so I read them aloud. Except the ones I ignore. You know who I'm talking about.
Okay, no, understood.
So everybody is waiting to hear about these things. So this. I showed this and you said, wait a minute. I'm like, uh-oh, what did I do wrong? So those are
cute.
You like these? These are the Toolmakers flats. They're 3-inch diameter.
They're baby Toolmaker flats.
They're cute. I actually went back to your video on you have a 6-inch Toolmakers flat.
Yeah, it's a Pratt & Whitney.
Pratt
yeah, it's
Whitney.
around 6 inches. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was taking note because I wanted to make it. I was looking for form and function and kind of things. And Robin says, "Oh, look at this video." He sent me a link of one of his old videos showing this deep groove because you can clamp to it and you can bite it and you can do all sorts of things with it. So anyway, I just said, "Fine, Robin, I'll use your dimensions." And I just turned 3 of these. 52-100 steel. This is annealed as turned off the lathe. I didn't take any special care with the dimensions because I was fighting with the TL1 and offsets and things, but they're ready to go to heat treat. Now,
why did you pick 52-100? Did you just have some or what?
I have a secret reason why I picked 52-100, which I can't talk about yet, but it's basically because it's the same as gauge blocks. So the NIST, which is formerly known as the NBS, they did a whole paper on gauge blocks and the heat treatment of gauge blocks with respect to stability, etc.
Yeah.
So I'm modeling this.
Okay. No, that's a good reason. Yeah.
After the metallurgy that the NBS came up with. So they came up with 52-100. They tried a bunch of things, but basically they settled on 52-100, and there's no surprise because all of our gauges seem to be 52-100. But the recipe, which I'll just briefly, Bakafish, you're watching the details way too hard. He says that it looks asymmetrical. That's because it's asymmetrical. I screwed up. Okay, don't dwell on it. Actually, I came up with a great reason. The design is such that you can tell the A side from the B side simply by observing the thickness of the blade.
It's a feature, not a fault.
I could work for Apple. So anyway, yeah, don't worry about that. Okay, it's close enough. But they're 3 inches. They're a hockey puck. And now the question is heat treating. So I'm fixing to get ready to heat treat them as close to the MBS recipe as possible, which is, and I don't have my notes in front of me, but it's basically 1550 Fahrenheit is the austenizing temperature. And then quench in oil, the fast oil, which is the 11-second oil from McMaster Carr. And then we're going to continue down to cryo. So we're going into liquid nitrogen after that. And then we're going to cryo for a long time. Robert Simpson says it's missing a headphone jack. Yeah, but you could wind your earbud wire right in the groove. See, that's what it's for. So once we go down to cryo, we're going to cryo for a long time, and basically until the liquid nitrogen runs out. And then coming out of cryo, we're going to go into temper. And again, this is from the MBS recipe. It's going to be 250 degrees Fahrenheit for a long time. That's your temper. And then if you're truly anal, you could do another round of cryo and another round of temper. So that's the next step for these guys before they hit the surface grinder, and then you know what's coming, lapping.
So they go right into cryo after heat treat. No pre-temper.
So correct. And the conventional wisdom has, generally is temper immediately after quench. But the more I read, and the NBS also didn't, I read that recipe. I'll read it again, but they don't pre-temper.
Okay. Yeah, I mean the cryo does it converts more
A to M.
A to M, right? Exactly. So
austenite to martensite.
Correct. Yeah.
And I got that out of Lauren Thomas's book, the Knife Steel Nerd, because in the Bryson,
you're not
book,
mixing your references, are you?
I am absolutely mixing my references.
Okay.
I am jumping between the NBS, Lauren Thomas, and now I'm going to tell you about Bryson, who I disagree with. I'm throwing out his recommendation. He said that, after quench, you must immediately temper. Do not wait. Temper immediately. Your life can depend on it. I mean, he's really strong on this. And then after all the research I did, I found out, actually, no. I think there was some folklore mixed in. And anyway. So that's the recipe. And when I come out of that, I'm going to grind it and then I'm going to lap it. And my goal is to lap to gauge block quality. So that's kind of how I'm planning on doing this.
Oh, I know why they're 3 inches.
Okay.
That's the size of your optical flat, right?
No, I actually have a 4-inch optical flat.
Okay.
I'll tell you offline why they're 3 inches. But
that's fine.
by the way,
I'm just pulling your tail.
A hockey puck is almost exactly the size. It turns out Warren Jones told us that a hockey puck is 3 inches by 1 inch, with 3 inches diameter, 1 inch thick. This is actually 2.95 because it turns out the stock from McMaster Carr was almost exactly 3 inches, and a little more than an inch. It's like 1 1/8 inches.
You have a radius at the bottom of that groove?
Everybody asks me the same thing. Yeah, of course I do. Next question, please.
Okay. I can't see it.
I didn't see how much of a radius. No, there's no radius at the bottom of the groove. It's basically the tool radius. I started with.
No, I mean in the corner. I mean,
I know.
Was it the insert radius? Okay.
I tried to do I'm using these really nice grooving tools, and the straight flat one it's good for 0.6 inches depth. But who is it? I can't remember the name of the manufacturer. I think it's a Sandvik.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a nice long insert. It's really beautiful, but I have the rounded one, the radiused one, and I have the square one. Well, I tried the radiused one on the first prototype, and it was a disaster because it wasn't cutting on the grooving cycle. It would go in and cut and move over and cut and move over, and it started making these sheets of metal between the cuts.
Oh, yeah.
It was really weird. So it had to get more complicated. And then finally I said, screw it. And I just went with the flat one, and it did a glorious job. We'll see if it cracks, it's tuition. We'll chalk it up to tuition, and I'll make them differently. But
next week, PFG mushrooms.
That's right. For sale, cracked steel. One of the guys who's here with us today, WidgetWorks, is sending me some like crazy nickel alloy wire, which I'm going to make as hangers to go in the groove. So in heat treatment, you can grab the wire hanger and then go into plunge. So you're not grabbing the steel, from the business sides. Here's the question du jour. Robert Simpson says, grind the groove. We're not grinding the groove. Indiana John says, if you heat treat too hot, your steel can crack during quenching or even after the steel is out of the oil. So it's tempting to think, well, if I had only gotten into temper sooner, I would have been fine. Oh, you're kind of explaining yeah, I think that's where Bryson was going, was all about your parts cracking. So Flat Lapper says, and Flat Lapper knows his lapping. We have a conversation started on another channel. He says, I predict this design is going to have a tendency to go convex on both sides in lapping. Okay. We'll see what happens. As long as the part has relaxed out due to the cryo and the temper, we'll make it flat again. WidgetWorks says it's alloy 602 wire, 1/8 inch wire. So we're going to make these hangers. So here's the question. How should I do the heat treating? Should I do it normal atmosphere, or should I do it in a bag? I have stainless steel, foil, for the 52-100. I have a Hotshot 360 oven, and I have this wire that is going to give me a place to grab. I'm trying to figure out, do I just go regular atmosphere? Baka Fish wants me to plumb for argon in the oven. I'm not sure what to do.
I mean, you're gonna you're going to go over the whole thing basically, right? So, any scale or whatever that's on the surface is going to be gone. The OD and the groove, however, are a little harder to deal with.
The only surfaces that matter are going to be the two flats. Everything else is not super critical.
You could, if you want to hang them by a wire or whatever, right? I mean, so you're going to hang them inside the furnace so that they're suspended. Is that what you're doing?
No, I was going to sit them. I was going to sit them on the floor of the furnace, but with the wire sticking in a spot where when I reach in and I grab, I'm grabbing the wire to lift it out. So it'll be sitting like it'll be sitting like this on the periphery in the oven.
Yeah,
I don't see a problem with that. And then there'll be a little piece of something, that wire will stick out, and I'll be able to grab it. So I can grab it and go into quench.
Yeah, well, if you want to hang it by a wire, putting it in a bag is kind of a pain in the neck. So
yeah, that's exactly what I've been.
It's not going to buy anything.
Yeah. So. Well, I mean, if somebody said no, forget the wire, you're being a bozo, just stick it in the bag and then clip the bag and let it dump into the plunge.
Yeah, I mean, you can reach in there with a hook, literally, right, and hook you got a nice groove in the center of that thing, right, and
pull it out of the bag with a hook.
No, well, I guess what I was thinking is you just put them in there with nothing on them, right, and then you just reach in there with a hook, snag them, right, and then dunk them and twirl them or whatever, and go, right.
Yeah. So Jeff Lawford says, and this is kind of where I was thinking. He says getting it out of the bag before going into the oil will be a major pain in the ass. I know.
Yeah, that's always a hassle, and you're trying to haul ass, right, with scissors or snips or whatever, right, and the bag cools off real quick. A lot of guys just dunk the whole bag and everything, and go that way. But yeah,
is that gonna? I don't know. Methanol drip. Thanks, Evils. Bakafish says just flood the oven with oil. Yeah, that works.
That's a good one.
That'll work exactly once.
Right.
So if I go plain atmosphere, how much scale am I going to expect from these things?
That's not too bad. I mean, it's not, it's not going to look like, I'm trying to think of a good, it's not going to look like you'd see something coming out of a blacksmith's forge. Okay, it'll be lighter and thinner. It'll be similar in coloration, right? But not as thick. And you're probably gonna, after your tempering process, you're gonna bead blast them or something like that, right? And clean them up.
Well, that was part of my agenda here. Also, is I started thinking about a bead blaster, which I don't own, but I might have one I can use.
Well, you want to do all this stuff yourself, right? And
that's the idea. Is
yeah, no, I see that, right? Because my first thought is send it to Solar Atmospheres and have it vacuum heat treated.
Oh yeah,
right?
Oh absolutely. Just not for the first go around here.
No, I picked up the vibe. You want to do this yourself? I get it, right? And we've all been there, right?
So anyway, let's see. People are going crazy in the chat. Carl says, "Can you quench in the bag?" I think we addressed that. It doesn't give me a warm fuzzy feeling quenching it in the bag.
Yeah, you can cut the top off real quick and then just hold the bag and put it in the oil, right? If your oil vessel's big enough, and Then it gets.
What about a basket? A fryer basket in the oil.
Mm-hmm.
Pull out the bag. Cut the bag and just dump it right
out
into the basket.
Yeah,
and then goosh the basket around.
That will work fine. It's just handling the thing when it's blazing hot. That's the issue, right? And but you can grab it with tongs, and if you don't make the bag fit the part like ultra tight, right? You have it's an envelope, right? So if the envelope's big enough, you can snip the top off, and I just use a crummy pair of scissors, right? And open it up real quick, right? And there's a time factor to this, right? And although with something a part that size, you have a little bit of time. You don't have to do it in 3 seconds, right? But you certainly would want to do it in 30 seconds, right?
Yep.
And
So one of the guys, Indiana John, says, I wouldn't worry about fussing with a bag. I would go no bag. And Jeff Lawford says, I did a 1095 blade in atmosphere last week, and an overnight soak in vinegar removed the scale.
Hey, I think a test is in order here. You have some more of that 52-100, right?
Plenty.
Come on, get busy.
I'm on it. I think that's a good idea. Okay, no, you raise a good point. I think I'm going to take number 1, and I'm going to do a atmosphere, no bag, put my little wire on it, grab it, dump it in the oil, do my thing, and see how it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll evaluate, we'll publish the results, and if we have to go to bag, we'll go to bag. I actually could get argon going in the oven. That might help a little bit, but I think we're going to just try one round with no bag. We'll do atmosphere first. Interesting.
And about putting something in the bag with the thing, right?
So okay. You opened up another religious argument. And by the way, guys, I recognize that we're past the top of the hour, and we're going to contingency plan Bravo, which means we basically keep going until we're done. So I did an experiment when I started heat treating with nothing in the bag, a little brown paper in the bag, match heads in the bag. That came
match heads. Ooh.
Okay.
So you talked to the witches, huh?
That came from Barzy. Okay, that came from Stan. And you know what the absolute unequivocal best results were from?
The paper, probably.
Nothing in the bag.
Oh, yeah? Hmm.
So then I did some research because I was, bumblefucking around. And I do some research and I find out that the 309 stainless that the bag is made out of is the getter for the oxygen. And whenever you add something, you're adding something. So anyway, I found that the absolutely do not add nothing to the bag was the best result, and it came out the cleanest.
Yeah, most people don't get their bags sealed well enough. Is the other they're depending on your part shape, they can be tricky to seal up well, and it's easy to get a little perforation somewhere that you don't notice, or the seams are not tight enough and whatnot. Yep. But,
the other thing, after I did the bag test, one of the problems happened, and you knife guys, I know we got some knife guys, the bag can stick to the metal really, unfortunately.
That's right. Well. You got to powder your part, right?
Powder your part. So I was like, oh, what do you do? What do you use? I go down that rabbit hole, right? And it's like, well, you got to use talc, but you can't use this brand because it has, it has corn silk in it, and this one has perfume in it. And
that's
so
right.
Then
you got to use the one with the purple label and the little frog on the back, right?
That's exactly. So you know what I discovered that worked absolutely spectacularly well? 5 micron aluminum oxide.
That'd probably be
I,
good. Yeah.
I did 5 micron aluminum oxide, a little oregano, but 5 micron aluminum oxide. I bagged my thing. I did my thing. It came, and when it came out, the aluminum oxide sitting there looking at you like, yeah, so what? It's like
Yeah. Right.
nothing.
That's all you
Just
got. Yeah.
it's like, yeah, that's all you got. You don't have a volcano. You don't have magma. What's going on? So it was fantastic. So my recipe now, which I published on a while ago, was 5 micron aluminum oxide, and it works well. So my recipe for the bag, and you guys could tell me I'm wrong. This is I recognize this. GLG
Well,
Forge.
we'll look at your bag results and
Well, yeah, I know.
we'll be the judge of that.
So no paper, nothing but bag, a pinch of 5 micron aluminum oxide, and the secret ingredient. GLG Forgeworks says I use Gold Bond. Kidding. Flat Lapper's agreeing with me. AL203. By the way, try the 04. It's got a little more zest. Yeah, I think we did it. So anyway, that's where I'm at, and I will report back. But I will take your advice and counsel, and I will do one of the flats, and we will see how that recipe goes, and we'll adjust from there. Thank you, sir. I needed that. It's like the smack in the back of the head that I needed. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to seeing how those go. That's a cool little project.
And we're also, so I don't know if I told you this, but Kinetic Precision is also going to be shipping clock springs. Here's one of our prototypes. These are 52-100 clock springs.
Oh, right.
Look at the damn thing. It's like perfect. Yeah, this was cutting the grooves. And they're just they go going. That 52-100 just wants to be hard.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the alloy that Johansson used too. Actually, it was, and they use it for ball bearings too. It's real common ball bearing steel. It's available, and it's an old alloy. But it turns out that it has some very interesting stability benefits.
I'll publish this. I'll publish a link to this article from I don't know what. From the NBS, they did a good array of experiments.
So I'm going to tell you guys a real quick story, and then I'm gonna take off. Okay. So it has to do with tool steel stability. So it's kind of on topic, right? So one of my mentors, his name was Charlie Blessing, and he was a tool maker, and I've got lots of Charlie stories that are pretty cool, but sometime during, I don't know, World War II-ish, I guess, him and some other guys wanted to make these height stands that are built up out of gauge blocks, right? So, and then they have a micrometer dial on them so that you can set your you can set an indicator off of them at any particular height up to the height of your gauge block stack, and then within a tenth in between all that, right? So these are manufactured these days, but back then they were extremely expensive. So I don't know if it was Cadillac or, they came out with Van Kuren had some. There's a bunch of different companies that made different versions of them. So they wanted to make their own. And so one of the things that they had to make was they had to make 10 or 12 1-inch gauge blocks. So he went about making 10 or 12, I don't remember what the number was exactly, and probably 10 gauge blocks. And he made them out of A2 tool steel. And so he worked on this thing and, and for a while, and machined them, ground them, lapped them, assembled them, did the whole thing, and kind of finished it up. But it was a little bit outside of his ability to qualify the thing when it was all assembled, right? So, I don't know, he had the thing for a while, and years passed, and he met somebody that in the metrology department that had the ability to actually check it very closely, right, and give him some feedback on the thing. And so he gave it to him, and this person checked it and said, "Wow, this thing is really great. You did a really nice job on it, but the whole stack is 2/10 short." And you might as well have kicked him in the nuts, right? Because if it was 2/10 long, he could do something about it, right? But 2/10 short, he is a fail, right, in his mind, right? And now you think about that. This is a guy in his basement, grinding and lapping away, trying to equilibrate and do comparative measurements with a standard. I think he had one gauge block that he was using as a comparator, right, a reference, and so anyway, he was like totally bummed out, right, and so he shoved the thing into the cabinet, and it stayed there for something like 40 years. And
awesome.
Here comes Tom, right? And I met him in the '80s, and so we used to hang out and talk like this, right? About all kinds of stuff. And one time I went over to his house, and he was all excited. He was like super excited. And I go, "Hey, what's going on?" He goes, "I read this article, and he says, it's an article, this is long-term stability of A2 tool steel in particular," right? And I go, okay. And he says, look at this, right? And he shows me the thing, and it has dimensional change over time, right? Was the focus of this article, right? And he says, A2's weird. He says, it grows as it gets older. So I go, okay, that's nice, right? And he says, no, you don't understand. I can fix my height stand now, right? And so he had torn the thing apart, and he started working on it again, right? So and anyway, it's just a funny story, and 40 years later, actually, it might have even been more than that, right? 40 years later, he was back on it, right? He pulled the thing out of the. He hated the thing, but he didn't want to throw it away, right? Because he put a lot of work into it.
You gotta wait for it to grow.
Yeah, he waited 40 years for it to grow, right?
It's like having kids. You wait around for them to grow. It's normal.
2/10 off on a stack of 10 or 12. That's pretty good, right? So it's
pretty good unless you work for the NIST.
Yeah, he didn't have any electronic indicators. I believe he did it with comparative measurements against a good gauge block with an optical flat, right? Is how I think he did it. I at that time I didn't know enough to quiz him on the metrology methods, right? And but I'm pretty sure that's how he did it. But
it's pretty cool. By the way, this guy just checked in on the Discord chat. He says, "Hi, Tom." His name is His name is Robin.
Oh, Robin? Is this Mr. Renzetti?
Yes, he says, "Hi, Tom."
Hi, Robin. Good. Nice to see your typing.
So just we're going to wrap this up. We're going to be in the after party roundtable channel right after we clear here, where I'm sure Robin will have some things to say. You're welcome to join us, Tom, but I know if you have to run, you have to run.
No, I got to go make some harissa, so
I'll be right over.
Okay.
So everybody,
Robin can comment on the long-term stability of A2 and 52-100 steel, because he has some knowledge in this area. So
I believe he does, and we will listen to him. And of all the things that I need the most, long-term stability is amongst them. Thanks for being here, Tom. Thanks a lot. That was a lot of fun. Thanks for the goodies.
That was fun. Yeah, you're absolutely welcome. And if I find some more books, I'll shoot them out to you.
All right. Thanks, man. I'm going to say goodbye. See ya. Everybody, thanks for being here. This was a lot of fun. I don't want to go too far over, but we learned a lot. We got some pointers. We answered some questions, and we're going to go have some finger sandwiches in the after party roundtable. Robert Simpson, thanks for being here. Bakafish, you're awesome. Robin, thanks for showing up. Robert, you're in both places. Gonzo, I don't know how you got here, but you're here. Let's see, who else is here? Flat Lapper, thanks a lot. GLG Forge Works, you're awesome. Almost, Carl, we'll see you guys in a little bit. Meanwhile, get flat and stay flat, and we'll see you guys next week.